Shalom, everyone, and we are starting the special study of Parashat BeShalah, the splitting of the Red Sea, which is every year very, very exciting, arriving to a peak of miracles, not just wonders and like the 10 plagues. Here it is really something that is so special that we have to really find inside ourselves all those miracles because that will sustain us for the rest of the year. Now, what is so special about Parashat BeShalah? We are talking about the Exodus. Right now, we're talking about the word BeShalah. We find it in the book of Exodus, chapter 13, verse 17, and it says, "Vayi beshalach paro et ha'am," and as Pharaoh sends the people away. Beshalach means, and he sent them away. Okay, and that's how the story is starting, which means this is really when the Israelites are leaving. However, immediately in the beginning of the parasha, "Vayi beshalach paro et ha'am," as Pharaoh is sending the people away, "Velo nacham Elohim derech eretz Plishtim," and God did not take him through the land of the Philistines, which is very simple to see. כי קרוב הוא, because this is too close. כי אמר אלוהים פן ינחם העם בראותם מלחמה ושבו מצרימה. Because God said, if the people will go through the land of the Philistines, they will see the war and they will run back to Egypt. But still, it says, ויסב אלוהים את העם דרך המדבר ים סוף. So, God took the people around, not on the straight way, but around through the desert and the Red Sea. Okay, so if we look at the map, we see that there are two ways for the Israelites to go. The simple, logical way is to go east along the Mediterranean coast. As you see on the map, the Israelites lived by the delta of the Nile. There was a lot of grass over there for the sheep because they had the flocks. And you could see the way was really simple. Now, what is really weird over here is that if they went straight, as we see on the blue arrow, straight to the east, straight to the right in our map, they don't really have to go through the Philistines. The Philistines where today's Gaza, which is on the coast. If they followed the arrow that we see and they continue right to the east, they will arrive to BeShalah, from BeShalah up to Hebron, and they're home. Okay? And BeShalah is also home. That's also the land of Israel. What's the story? And here comes the idea that they had to go south, which is not really the way to go south, to find the Red Sea and then to cross it. There's more and more evidences, by the way, that it was not really to that arm of the Red Sea, but that went to the other arm. If you see the Red Sea, it looks like a V, like blue V. So they went to the other arm of the V, and somewhere in the middle, they crossed from the Sinai to what is today Saudi Arabia. And there's some findings proving that, there's an argument among the archaeologists. That's not important for us. So there are like two options. And the Zohar is saying, to make it sure, verse 30 in the Sulam commentary, Why did God took them around, not straight? היינו לתקן את הדרך למקומו. כלומר, כדי לעשות קריעת ים סוף. Because the Creator himself, he wanted the splitting of the Red Sea to happen. The splitting of the Red Sea was part of the plan. שאם לא כן, otherwise, היה מספיק להנחותם דרך המדבר לבד. Otherwise, they had to go direct through the desert. There was no Suez Canal then, so there's nothing to cross, no water to cross. They could go, as we said before, simply to the east or into the desert without going through the Red Sea. Okay, ולא דרך ים סוף. Why that had to happen? And the answer is simply because the splitting of the Red Sea, and again, this is like bad translation because it doesn't say red anywhere. We haven't been to what is called the Red Sea. It's very, very blue. Okay? Why red? It's a mistranslation. It's supposed to be reed sea because suf means reed, reeds. Okay, however, the Zohar is saying, no. If you read it a little bit differently, Yam Suf, it's the sea of finite, Sof, Yam Sof. And Kriat Yam Suf, the splitting of the Red Sea, in Hebrew is not splitting, it's tearing that ocean of finite in our consciousness. The whole purpose, and from that we learn that whatever happens to us in our lives as individuals and as a society, as a nation or the whole of humanity, everything is part of the program, especially now that I can see it not just from the media, can talk to people from all over the world. People are not just scared, a lot of people are hysterical. Nothing is logical anymore. Things are really more than insane. It looks like the world is going more insane by the hour, not by the day. Like, how many times a day you're just looking at the news and that are coming in and you're saying like, it can go more crazy than that, and it goes more crazy than that. So what is the story? Just the first thing to remember, there's a program, there's a plan. Everything goes by the plan. Whatever is happening right now, and always, but especially right now, is part of the plan that we have to go through in order to become those people that can cross the ocean of finite, the ocean of impossibilities. The whole thing is to tear. The word in Hebrew is kriat yamsuf. It's not a splitting, it's the tearing of the ocean of impossibilities. Remember that. So when we remember that everything we go through that because we need to tear another finite, another state of mind of, no, that's impossible. That's cannot happen. And that is basically the idea of miracles because, as we learned many, many times, the word in Hebrew for miracles, nes, is coming from the word lanus velitnoses in Psalms, to flee up and above. Or, in a simple language, getting out of the box. What is a miracle? Something that is happening and it's not according to the rules of nature. Yeah, the rules of nature are that whatever is impossible is impossible. Whatever is logical is logical. Whatever can be done can be done. Whatever cannot be done cannot be done. Getting out of the box is basically tearing that state of mind into pieces, leaving it behind, soaring up above, outside the box, and realizing there's a whole different reality outside. And then you look at yourself and saying, how could I be so small, so limited? That's exactly the idea of tearing off the ocean of impossibilities, of blockages, of walls, of finite. So whatever we're going through here, especially nowadays, because whoever listened to the Zohar explanation of the Parashah of Tetsaveh, and over there it says in the Zohar that all the curses, all what looked like curses in Parashat Tetsaveh, in the book of Deuteronomy, are basically blessings. And when it says that God will get you in ships down to Egypt, back into Egypt, okay? And Elijah the prophet is telling Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in that commentary in the Zohar, you don't read it well. You have to change something in your logic. What it says really, that when the redemption will come, God will bring you back to those days of the miracles of the Exodus, of getting out of Egypt. And then one of them, says Elijah the prophet, will be that you will see nations of the whole planet, never been before is in history, getting together in a council, in an assemblies. Okay, we call it the United Nations Assembly, and there are other assemblies to condemn Israel. So says Elijah the prophet to Rabbi Shimon 2,000 years ago. And he said they will get together to condemn Israel, to boycott Israel, and to sanction Israel till the people of Israel will say, how can we fight the whole world? We're doomed. And Rabbi Shimon is being told by Elijah the prophet, people will think we are doomed, because it says, "V'itmakartem sham, lo yivechem ve'en koneh." It doesn't say "venimkartem," you will be sold over there. It says "V'itmakartem," you will think that you are going to be sold. You will think that you're finished, that you have no power over your life. However, ve'ein koneh, no one will control you, no one will rule you, and miracles will happen. However, says Elijah the prophet, if you have a heart, you will see the miracles. If your heart is frozen, you won't be able to recognize the miracles. Now, why is it so important? So let's continue. So in the introduction to the Zohar, Rabbi Ashlag, introduction to the Zohar is the opening chapter of the Zohar before the Zohar is starting to explain the book of Genesis. On verse 121 of Rabbi Ashlag's commentary to the Zohar, Rabbi Ashlag is explaining something very, very important for us, for every human being, to understand what does it mean to take the journey of spirituality. And he says as follows, כי באמת כל ריבוי הסתירות נגד ייחודו יתברך, שאנו תואמים בעולם הזה. אף על פי שמתחילתן הן מפרידות אותנו מהשם יתברך, הנה בהיותנו מתאמצים לקיים התורה והמצוות באהבה, בכל נפשנו ומאודנו כמצווה עלינו. Okay, I'll translate. When we go through our lives and we experience a lot of contradictions, what does it mean, contradiction in this physical universe? We see sometimes how the Creator is taking care of us, protecting us, leading us on a good way. However, we see also the opposite. We see how good people suffer, bad people succeed, and that is contradictions. They calls it stirot. You look at that and you say, why there's so many contradictions? If there is a God, and a God is the God of truth and justice, that won't be able to happen. And we see so many atrocities, so much evil, especially lately, so much evil with so much negativity of so much crude evil of human heart against the whole kind, humankind, your nation, other nation, it doesn't matter. Cruelty in levels that we didn't experience before, but now it's more expanded. And in the beginning, it looks like those contradictions are making us confused, and that separates us from the Creator. However, why? Because if there is a God, how could that happen? How could people want freedom be murdered by masses? Not just in Iran, other places also. Kurdistan in Sudan, and you can find it all over the world, the cruelty of totalitarian regimes doing horrible stuff to people without just, and their own crime is they want freedom. They don't want to kill you. They don't want to destroy your life. They just want you to stop controlling their lives. And and the drive for freedom is ancient all the way to the Exodus. Let my people go. However, when we are making all the effort to fulfill the Torah and the mitzvot with love, with all our hearts, with all our mights, as we're supposed to do, which means al menat lashpia nachatuach liyotzenu, to do it in order, basically to follow God's will. He created us in this world to be happy and fulfilled, and the only way to do it is to follow his rules. If we really connected to him through the Torah and the mitzvot, kol elu kochot haperud, all of those forces of separation, אינם משפיעים עלינו לגרוע משהו, because when we see the contradictions, when we see stuff that makes us confused, if there is a God, where is this God? How come he allows that and that and that? And how many people along history simply turn their backs to belief or faith because they couldn't understand all of these confusions. And that Rabbi Ashla calls it kochot haperud, the forces of separation, because they separate those forces of doubts and despair and anger, separate us from the Creator himself. However, if we follow the Torah and the mitzvot properly, we use them as tools to get superpowers, then we can overcome the logical and emotional hurdles that are a result of all of these atrocities that we see around ourselves. And then, אינם משפיעים עלינו לגרוע משהו מאהבת השם. And those forces of separation do not have any influence upon us to remove anything from us loving God. בכל נפשנו ומאודנו, with all our might. אז כל סתירה וסתירה שהתגברנו עליה, and then, every contradiction and confusion that we overcame, and we got our faith and connection to the Creator stronger after making a fight every time like this, every contradiction, every confusion, נעשית שער להשגת חוכמתו יתברך. It becomes a gate for achieving a higher level of connecting to his wisdom, to the true wisdom, the wisdom of God. There's wisdom of people, which is just people made up some logic to explain something. And then, after a while, somebody wrote a book about the lifetime of scientific and philosophical ideas. Uh, Life proves that probably it was not really exact. Whatever people created as human wisdom, human logic. However, when we overcome the contradictions and the doubts, and we achieve a closer, higher love towards God, then each overcoming like this becomes a gate for a higher level of understanding God's wisdom. כי כל סתירה יש בה סגולה מיוחדת. Every contradiction has a special, unique power לגלות מדרגה מיוחדת בהשגחתו יתברך. Why are we facing different kinds of confusions? Each confusion is basically a gift. A gift, which means it's really not a brick wall or an iron wall to stop us on our road. It is a gate that we have to decipher the code in order to open that gate, and that is the gate that will lead us into another step connecting to the awareness of God. ואלו הזכאים שזכו לזה, and those people who got the merit for that, נמצאים מהפכים חשוכה לנאורה. They are basically transforming darkness into light, ומרירה למתקה, and bitterness into sweet. כי כוחות הפירוט כולם, because all the forces of separation and confusion that they exist in our minds, הם מבחינת חשקת השכל, either because they are basically the darkness of the logic, ומבחינת מרירות הגוף, or they're coming from the bitterness of the suffering of the body. When we do our spiritual journey properly, נעשו להם שערים להשגות מדרגות נשגבות. All of them become great gates for great understandings and great awareness, stages of awareness that are divine and really beyond human logic. ונעשה החושך לאור גדול, and then the darkness becomes a great light. והמר נעשה מתוק, and the bitterness becomes sweet. So if we want to know why is it so complicated, why is it so confusing, and especially now that all of that elusive trust that we had in governments, in organizations, in systems, that we thought that all of these systems will guarantee our safety and justice, and then we realized that that was crooked, it was fake, it was basically a cover-up for a lot of atrocities, a lot of dangerous things that were happening behind the scenes. Now they're starting to come up to the light, and we are terrorized. We get upset. We are confused. You have to understand this is part of the journey. We have to go through these moments of crazy confusions in order to turn them into gates of awareness. Okay? So don't let the news and whatever happening around us to get you crazy. You have to use them as stepping stones to jump and to climb up the ladder of awareness all the way to the unity with the Creator himself. So the Zohar continues. This is the Zohar of verse 25, Parashat BeShalah. כד נפקו ישראל ממצרים, רוחהון ותביר בגביו, והבו שמעין אינון תושבחן ולא יכלין למחדי. ובשעתה דחולו אוכלוסין ורתיחין נפקו בשכינתה. כולו ערים ותושבחן ושירין קמי קודשה בריחו. ויתאר קודשה בריחו רוחהון דישראל. והיו שומעים אינון תושבחן וקיים רוחהון בגביו דלא פרחן. Come and see. When the Israelites, the nation of Israel, left Egypt, BeShalah, this is exactly what we're talking about, as they were sent away by Pharaoh. Why? After the plague of the firstborn, the Egyptians were horrified that another plague will come and get out of my country. And they basically sent the Israelites away. But when the Israelites were away, as they went out from Egypt to the desert, their spirits was broken. They were surrounded, says the Zohar, by armies of angels, praising God, singing amazing songs. However, the people of Israel could not be happy. Could not. And when all those armies of angels and the chariots of heavens left Egypt together with the Shekhinah, says the Zohar, all of them raised their voices, praising and singing in front of God. Ve'ir HaKadosh Baruch Hu Rucham Shel Yisrael, and God raised the spirit of the Israelites, and they heard those praises of the angels, and little by little they were healed, and their souls did not leave them. Why? Verse 27. Adam acher shazav avodato, when a person leaves his work or his slavery, suddenly he goes what we call today PSTT, post-traumatic experience. As long as the Israelites were slaves in Egypt, they had one thought in mind: surviving another hour, surviving another day. But the moment they got out of the slavery, suddenly the Zohar says, you realize how broken you are, mentally and physically. So the Israelites, the nation of Israel leaving Egypt, they tasted the taste of death. And God healed them. As it says, and God is walking in front of them night and day. And all the roads were bringing out smells of healing. And they got healed. And flowers grew up on the roads with all kinds of healing scents coming from the flowers. And from that voice of the praises that they were hearing, little by little, they were cured from their trauma. And they started to feel rest, a spiritual rest. So that's what we have to understand. So that was the first week leaving Egypt. And then we come into the next stage. Pharaoh realizes how the Israelites are not coming back. And basically that was also part of the plan. Okay? It's like, if Pharaoh and Egypt is the ego, when a body is hit and beaten up, the body releases the soul. When a body realizes that there's no chance anymore, the body says, okay, now the soul will save me. And suddenly we have this surge of spirituality. Why? The body gave up, it's too weak. And suddenly we can pray. The body is saying to the soul, you pray for me. And that's what Pharaoh says to the Israelites, pray for me. And then when things are becoming comfortable, the body forgets all the plagues. He wants to take over the soul again. And that's exactly what's happening to Pharaoh. He forgot all the plagues. And he's running after the Israelites to take revenge, to get them back into slavery. And in Exodus 14, verse 10, Ufaro hikriv. And Pharaoh, and then comes the word hikriv. Most translations translate, and Pharaoh got closer. And the Zohar says it doesn't say got closer, it says hikriv. The verb in Hebrew means one thing, brought closer. Who did it bring closer? He brought the Israelites closer to their Father in heaven. Vayisu bnei Yisrael et eineim, and the Israelites and the children of Israel raise their eyes, and they're seeing Mitzrayim noseachem, they see Egypt traveling after them. Vayomer, they got really scared. Vayitzaku bnei Yisrael el Hashem. And the children of Israel yelled to God. Mechilta de Rabbi Ishmael, it's a midrash, says really clearly what happened over there. Miyad tafsu lahem umanut avotam. When they were facing Pharaoh, remember, they were on the sea. They can't cross the sea. It's still water. Mountains on the right, mountains on the left, and Pharaoh behind them, traveling behind them with chariots, very fast. Now, what says the Mechilta? Miyad tafsu lahem umanut avotam. The moment they saw that, they got scared, so they held the art of their fathers. What art? Which means the profession. The umanut, the art and the profession of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. What do we learn about Abraham? Abraham started to teach humanity how to pray, how to call God. Genesis 12. What does it say about Yitzchak? Yitzchak also. Vayetze Yitzchak lasuach basadeh. This is Genesis 24. We learn that Yitzchak was praying to God in the field. He was praying. What about Jacob? Ma'u omer vayifga b'makom vayelen sham. And it says in Genesis 28, when Jacob reaches on his way to Haran, he reaches Mount Moriah, where he had his dream. The commentators are saying he prayed over there as the sun set, which means that Mechilta over here, the Midrash, is telling us that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob basically laid that skill to pray to God. But what's special about it? People prayed to the gods for millennia earlier. No, this is a different prayer. People prayed to the idols. They brought sacrifices to the idols. It was from one point only. They were afraid of the gods or the idols, no matter how you call it, because when you study the stories of the ancient religions, pantheistic religions, doesn't matter if it's Egypt or Mesopotamia, Greece or Rome, either maybe the Aztecs or the Mayas, the Nordics, there's so many of them. The gods do not care about us. You know, if you study those ancient stories, those ancient traditions, they're selfish, they're mean. They don't care about us, mortals. This is a different thing. The most important transformation in the history of humanity is here. When a whole nation, first time in history, is praying to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They're praying to the creator of the universe. They're praying to that deity that is infinite, that is one, that created us only for one purpose, so we can experience joy, fulfillment, and pleasure. When you pray to that kind of deity, you know what the sages are saying. More than the calf wants the milk, his mother cow wants to feed him. More than you want your life to be successful, you know that your Father in heaven wants you to be successful. So when you pray to that infinite love and power with that certainty that he wants to give you good, to help you and to protect you, you just have to connect to him. You know that it's all for good. That's a very different kind of a prayer than you pray to a bully. You know, all these mythologies that we said of the ancient world, all of them were about you pray to a deity, you know he doesn't care about you. He can smite you like nothing. So you need to appease him. You need to sacrifice something. You need to make yourself small as an ant so he's not upset about you. This is a different consciousness. We're talking about the birth of an awareness that I was created in his image and I deserve to be happy. I deserve to be protected. I deserve to succeed. You have to understand this is a deliverance. We're talking about a birth of a new world, of a new humanity. It started on the Red Sea. It's not over yet. The whole of humanity since that moment is going through that process. All what we see around, all of those nations that are going through their own fight for freedom. We're not the only one. It's everybody's fight for freedom. There's no Messiah, there's no Mashiach only for one nation. It has to be for everybody all together. And what's happening together right now is the first time in history of humanity that everybody, through the internet, through the smartphones, are connected to that all together. We're in it together. It's all whatever we see around us. It's a very, very intense journey, similar to the journey of the Exodus. Everything is part of the plan. If you think that things become too complicated, too unjust, too dangerous, that's part of the plan. The same way that God took the Israelites right into the Red Sea. Why not crossing the desert without going through the Red Sea? Finally, the Red Sea was taking all the way down south. Long, long, long journey. 6 days walking to the Red Sea just to perform the miracle of tearing, which means it's the Israelites just there tearing that state of mind of no way, you can't, it's impossible, you're not allowed, you don't deserve it, there's no justice. It's like, who are you? You're just a mortal, you're worthless. That was the awareness that was torn into pieces, shattered into many, many, many pieces. That's the meaning of the word kri'ah, kri'at Yamsuf, wrongly translated into splitting of the Red Sea. So during these weeks of the ShOVaVYM, and especially during this week, this is a very powerful time for all of humanity. especially now, this year, that everything is becoming so complicated, so scary, so like, who can I count on? Everybody's crazy. Yeah, you can count only on one, the creator of the universe, the one who really runs the show, the one who really plays with the leaders of the world like puppets. Do you think that the leaders of the world, they know what they're deciding? They think they do, but they're just puppets, puppets of the real master of the universe. And our job is to remember that and not to fall into pieces. That's our job. And therefore, that leads us to verse 78. When the Israelites started to pray, they prayed the first time to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to that God that they knew. They reached a place that no matter what happens, it's all for the good. They made the transformation. The moment that happened, verse 78 in the Zohar, פירוש הסולם, על כן לא רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא שיעוררו ישראל דבר בעולם. From that moment on, God did not want the Israelites to awaken, the Israelites, the nation of Israel, to awaken anything from below. Why? Because when we awaken from below, it's always, I think Einstein used to say, the logic that got you into the trouble won't get you out of the trouble. Remember that. That's the idea of getting out of the box. The moment you feel stress out, in front of you is the sea, mountains on the right and left. Behind you, Pharaoh comes to kill you. You stress out. That's judgment. You cannot awaken judgment in a case like this. So when you use faith, and here we have another tool, we'll talk about it later on, the 72 names of God. It's for the purpose of getting out of the box of judgment, limitation, impossibilities, all of that world of the past, and to make a miracle. What's the miracle? The miracle is not to tell God what to do. Let's go back to Jacob. When he's under terrible pressure, Esau, his brother, hates him, wants to kill him. He comes with 400 warriors. And Jacob prays, and he prays to God, Hatzileni na, save me. He doesn't tell God how to do that. When we really want to get out of the box, just connect to God's love. Do not tell God how to solve the problem. That's exactly what the Zohar is saying here. You stay silent. Your only job is to connect to God's love. You connect to the source of the creation, to the cause of all of creation. And that's why it says, Hashem yilachem lachem v'atem tacharishon. God will fight for you. You will keep silent. What does it mean? Do not awaken anything. Do not come with ideas. Do not come with judgment. Just stay in that quiet place of total faith and connection to the infinite love of the Creator. Why? כי השם של רחמים צריך להתעורר עליכם, because the name of mercy has to be awakened. But your mind is in judgment, because that's what your brain tells you. We are in time of judgment. Why? So everything will be solved with mercy. How can everything be solved with mercy? They're going to kill us. Don't give God ideas. Jacob does not give God ideas. He says, simply save me. He doesn't say how. Why? I don't believe that my logic that is right now in judgment can do anything. And therefore, do not make a blemish. God's help should be pure, just from Him. Do not awaken something else. And that's exactly what it says about this time. It says in the book of Zechariah, chapter 14, ויצא השם ונלחם בגויים ההם, and God will come out and fight the nations. This is judgment. No, this is mercy. It's judgment with mercy. Because their death of the Egyptians was not like the death of other people. God had mercy for them. They didn't die with pain. We're talking about a famous prophecy of Zechariah chapter 14. So we don't give God any advices how to solve the problem. And you know what? Things are so confusing. If you had an idea how to solve the problems of humanity right now, if you really get what's going on, there's no human logic solution. It got too complicated. It's getting more complicated by the day, by the hour. So this is what we're trying to achieve. And here comes verse 180. כדין כתיב, ויאמר השם אל משה, מה תצעק אליהם? When God says to Moses, what are you yelling at me? ותנא בספרה דצניותא, and we learn in ספרה דצניותא, this is a very powerful chapter in the Zohar, between Parashat Tetsaveh and Parshat Tetsaveh. What it means shouting at me, Elai, that's really precise. Who is Elai? Be'atika talia kola. It's all, the whole redemption depends on Atika. What's Atika? The word is Semitic word, but it got into European language also. It's a word antique. What's antique? Something that comes before everything else. Atik. Why? Because the real meaning of it in Hebrew, atik means something that was brought from one place to another. Ne'etak. The light of the Creator has been copied and delivered from the infinite into the tree of life. And that is the Keter of the 10 Sefirot. This is it's called by the Kabbalists Nitzotz Boreh, a spark of the Creator. This is the essence of all of creation. When from the infinite, something descends, a spark of light descends from above to below. It is only love, unconditional love towards humanity, only giving. There's no judgment. It is the seed of all of creation. It is the Keter of Keter. It's called Atik. In English, that means very ancient. In Hebrew, it means it is the beginning of all what we know, but it starts from the infinite. It's the infinite power of the Creator that basically, from that spark, everything we know was created. That was revealed during the splitting of the Red Sea. And that's why God is saying, do not scream anymore, do not pray anymore, just silence, which means the seed, the secret of a miracle is bringing your mind and your heart into complete silence. That silence allows a tick to expand into your reality. When we are praying with noise, internal and external noise, there's no place for Atik to come down and expand and take over, take the lead. Only when we simply ascend high enough, they will let go. What it says, let go and let God. And then the moment we allow total silence with total trust and love, because we're connecting to not how much do we deserve, but to how much does God love us. The moment we touch that place, that spark of God that really is everywhere, that sustains everything, in that moment, אשתכח ראווה בכולו עלמין. Then there's appeasement in all the worlds, all the concealments, in all the levels of the tree of life. כדין נהירו דכל, and all of them starts to shine. Commentary, Rabbi gets, נודע שחוכמת המצרים הייתה מצד שמאל. We know that the wisdom of the Egyptians was from the left. Judgment. ולקראת ים סוף ולהטביע את המצרים, in order to split ים סוף, to tear the ocean of judgment, and to drown the Egyptians, היה צריך מתחילה לבטל את שורשם הגבוה שבקדושה. Egypt, like every nation, has a high source in the tree of life. In order to overcome the Egyptians, you had to connect to the source of all sources. That's only Atik. זה לא היה אפשר זולת באור הגדול של עתיק הקדישה. Only connecting to the great light of the holy Atik, who's the source of everything. That was the only way to cancel the power of Egypt and drown them in the Red Sea. וזה שכתוב שזה אנפין אמר מה תצעק אליי, that's why it says, when it says that God said, what are you yelling at me? It was not just the love of God that we know, the simple love of God of the spiritual realm. Be'atika tal yakola. This is not just the simple connection to the grace of God. It's connecting to the source of all the tree of life, of all the power, the beginning of all of the evolution of the universe. Only his great light can cancel the source of the Egyptians. Like the candle can be canceled in front of the torch. כדין נהיר ודחולה יתנער. It's like all of that light had to shine, because the light of Atik is the light of everything. And when the light of Atik is revealed, all the other lights lose their identity, because it's the source that includes everything. And that was the only way for that moment to simply illuminate the source, the high source of Egypt, till it became nulled, drowned in the great light of Atik that was revealed at that moment on the Red Sea. So, how do we connect to miracles from above? That's how we do it. When we connect to the secret of the Atika. How do we connect to the Atik, which is the light of Atik coming down? That's called Mazalah. And this is the meditation of Youdkevitch, the Tetragrammaton, 3 times as you see in front of you. Right, left, and center. When you meditate on that, and you can find that, and this meditation is very, very powerful. and you want to connect to Atik. That's why there's a verse in Proverbs. King Solomon says, Einecha lenochach yabitu, which simply being translated, your eyes should look forward. So the Zohar is asking, so where should your eyes look at? Nochach is a code. Nochach is gematria, numerical value of 78. 78 is 3 times 60, 26. It's also mazalah. Nochach is also initials, nishmat kol chai, the soul of every living thing, which is the beginning of one of the most powerful prayers that we prayed at on the morning of Shabbat. To get to that level, you need to use the 72 names. To get to the level of 78, which means the Nochach, Mazalah, Atika, you need first to ascend, to have takeoff using the 72 names of God. Where can you find the 72 names of God? We can find it in the Midrash about the importance of 78. You find Midrash Rabbi in Genesis 44:19. We can find it in the Sukkot prayer that we have Ani Vaho Shiana. It's two names of God that it's the only place they appear. And Rashi, the great sage of the 11th century, this is before the Zohar was written, says Ani Vaho, first of all, Gematria 78. More. This is one of the 70, these are two of the 72 names. And Rashi explains to us, Rashi was one of the greatest commentators in all Jewish history. He lived in France in the 11th century. Okay, and he explains that the 72 names that derive from the 3 verses that describe the splitting of the Red Sea. Rashi's words can be found in Tractate Sukkah, Babylonian Talmud, page 45a. And then you have Rabbi Bachya ben Asher, also from the same generation. We know that these 72 names, they can be divided differently. They have different forces. You can use different parts, different groupings. There's a lot. It's a whole great wisdoms. Some of them are to bring what got lost, chet, bet, vav, that's on the bottom. And that's for love, hey, hey, ayin. So we should use them, shenazkirem betoch filateh, we should use the 72 names in our prayers from the Creator himself, that he will love us, that he will bring whatever. And he says he heard it from another wise man. His name was Rabbi Yitzchak Tudus, of blessed memory. So again, the secret of the 72 names, we can see it in Exodus 14, verses 19, 20, and 21. We have 3 verses. In each one of these verses, there are exactly 72 letters. And when we write the first name, the first verse, verse 19, chapter 14, right to left. The second verse, left to right under that, the first one. And the third, right to left. Why? This is right, left, and center. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay? This is loving kindness on the right, judgment on the left, and then mercy in the middle. So you have the first, if you write them this way, you get 72 columns of 3 letters each. When you put them in a table, you get this kind of a table of 72 names of God. Okay, the first one is the first letter in each table, in each name, starting from the top right to left, all the way to the bottom left. Okay, from the top right till the bottom left. The second verse is from the bottom left all the way to the top right, but that's the second letter, marked in yellow. Okay, and the third is again from the right to the left, all the way down to the bottom left. That's a third letter. So you got what we call the 72 names of God encoded in Parashat BeShalah. Come meditating on these names, and there are many ways to meditate. It's a whole course of Kabbalistic meditation. There's so many traditions of using each name by itself, group of names, all names together. The simple of them all is simply scanning all of the names. Do not try to read them because different vowels gave them different powers. You don't want to get something you didn't ask for. Just scanning them from the top right, Vaho, all the way to the bottom left, Mem Vav Mem. And the best way is simply to have in your mind the names of the letters, the Hebrew names of the letters. So you start from the top right, Vav, Hey, Vav. And if you can pronounce it loud, that's also okay. Vav, Hey, Vav, Yud, Lamed, Yud, Samech, Yutet, Ayin, Lamed, Mem, Mem, Hey, Shin, Lamed, Lamed, Hey, Aleph, Kaf, Aleph, Kaf, Hey, Taf, all the way from the top right to the bottom left. Again and again and again, when you basically wish what? To rise above chaos, confusion, misunderstanding, judgment, pain, suffering, just to rise so you can jump out of the box, outside of the physical reality and physical consciousness, and reach Atika. What is Atika? To connect to that love that descends from the infinite down to our universe. To experience only that, we can experience only that. We have trust and we have love and we have harmony and we have quietness. We don't need to question anything. We don't need to have explanation to anything. It simply is. When you connect to that place, even momentarily, you allow the light of the Creator to descend into your life and to take over. Let God, let go and let God. And when that light, concentrated light, takes over in the seed level, then we can sweeten the judgments. We can turn the darkness into light and the bitterness into sweet. Those names have been used in amulets, in prayers for centuries, for millennia, in different Jewish communities, either in Germany or Afghanistan, in Morocco or in Jerusalem, doesn't matter. The same thing has been used again and again and again for millennia. So we use the most famous, you can find it in Rabbi Isaac Luria's writings, Kol Anshamat Aliyah, initials in Psalms 156. Kol Neshamat Tehalel, initials Kaf Hey Taf. All souls will praise God. The initials are Kaf Hey Taf. This is a name for protection. The Rizal is saying, with every breath, you praise God. Because this name, לפי שהשם הזה, הוא העיניים של מעלה, is the eyes of the above. ובשם הזה היו הגדולים מביטים בעיניהם ברשעים, using this name, the great sages would look at a wicked person and make him a pile of bones. ובשם הזה היכה משה רבינו עליו השלום את המצווה. With this name, Moses hit the Egyptians and killed him. וכן אמר משה לדתן, that's why the day later, when Moses says he sees two Hebrews beating each other, and he says to the evil one, Datan, lama take re'echa, why are you beating the other person, your friend. רוצה לומר מילת תכה, the word תכה, hit, beat, in Hebrew, is a hint for the name Kaf Hey Taf, the same letters. Kaf Hey Taf, which is the real name to beat evil people. That is being mentioned in Sephardic prayer books till today in the second blessing from the end of the silent prayer, known as Shmoneh Esrei. And that blessing is ending by the word Baruch Ata Hashem, Hatov Shimcha Ulecha Na'eh Leodot. The last three words, there's a mark of 3 dots above the last letter of each word. It marks the letters Kaf, Hey, Taf. And then it says in parentheses, this is where you should meditate on the letters Kaf, Hey, Taf. Kaf, Hey, Taf, the power to eliminate the bad guys. We have also Yud Lamed Yud, which is a holy name, and that name is to raise whoever fell to the darkness, raise them up. It's also the name to raise somebody who became sick. So how do we use them? We just explained there's a whole much to use them. Simply meditating on them. You can find on the front page of the livekabbalah.org, there are some essays and guided meditations teaching you how to use it. We have also the reading of this Shabbat, which is very, 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 extremely, very powerful to have that power. And it's called Shabbat Shirah, Shabbat of the song. When the Israelites over the Red Sea, and they're so excited, and all of them sing together as a choir. We know they all were connected to prophecy. How do we know? How could you sing together a song you never practiced together before? Very simple. So you can see that the text of the Torah, most of the Torah, is like the top paragraph and the bottom paragraph, from right to left and so on. But the text of the Song of the Red Sea is like in the middle paragraph. There's more white than letters, than black of the letters, to show, we know that during singing, more light can be revealed when we sing than when we talk. And that's how it's being shown that the song has much more light. And that's a revelation of prophecy of a whole nation. That's why the sages are saying every morning you should say the Song of the Red Sea, which is basically prophecies about the coming of the Messianic days. Because it even says, as Yashir Moshe, Uvnei Israel, and Moshe and the children of Israel are going to sing in future tense. What future? Coming of the Mashiach. Okay, so that is, of course, saying the singing of the Red Sea every morning with happiness, like you experience that experience, can save you from a lot of judgment from that day. That's another thing we can use this parasha. Of course, listening to it being read in a synagogue on this coming Shabbat, Shabbat Shirah. After the spitting in the Red Sea, there's another thing. Still in Exodus chapter 15, and there we see they coming to a bitter place, to a place with bitter water. And everybody's thirsty and people are getting really frustrated. They have another test for a miracle. And then Moses is praying and God is showing him a tree. And he put the tree in the water and they become sweet. It's all symbolic. How to turn the bitterness into sweet. But then God is saying, כל המחלה ששמתי במצרים לא אשים עליך, כי אני השם רופאך. אני אדוני רופאך. And over there, says Rabbi Ezekiel, you should say this sentence every day. It's Exodus 15:26. What was the disease of Egypt? We said, you don't believe in goodness. You totally believe that the evil reigns supreme. You totally believe that Pharaoh is the bad guy, but he's also the powerful guy, and he makes everything runs. His word is the word that is being accepted. And the whole thing, says Rabbi Ashlag, of the redemption, the whole thing of the redemption is getting out of the disease of the consciousness. Alecha ki ani Hashem, as Arizal is saying, there are 4 Yuds. These 4 Yuds belong to the name of God, that when you spell it out, the Tetragrammaton, you spell it out this way, it equals 72, and it has 4 times the letter Yud, marked in yellow. Also, Alecha ki ani Hashem, there are 4 Yuds. These are the 4 Yuds. They hint about that name of God that symbolize Olam Atzilut, the higher realm of light. This is for healing. But, as Rabbi Ashok explained, the healing will happen when we heal our consciousness, our sick consciousness. A disease starts with a sick mind. Today, everybody knows it's all psychosomatic. It's all coming from belief systems. So that's another healing that you use daily, every morning. And here comes the story of the manna. And the manna was exactly connecting again to Atika Kadisha. That's in the Zohar Sulam, BeShalah, verse 386. We should say the manna. Also, some people say the story of the manna daily. Why? To connect to, what is more powerful? My belief system of how much money can I make? Can I make a living or not? Or God's will to make me alive? Who should I connect to? This is the story of the manna. So every day we should pray with that belief system. We should pray for sustenance. Not from the idea because I need it. I pray for sustenance because the Creator wants to give it to me. Only when we totally let go and let God. That's why we have to pray for sustenance daily with that state of mind. This is called the story of the manna, the miracle of the manna. We have to ask for that daily. Then we have another thing, Exodus 17:7. We come to a place. The Israelites are arguing with Moses. They basically try God, saying, is there a God among us or none? But if you know Hebrew, Ein is the infinite. The children of Israel, the nation of Israel, they want to know which level did we get already? Are we connecting to the Tetragrammaton, mercy and love? Or maybe we're higher. We reach the infinite. We reach the Atik, Ein, the place there's no brain, no thought and perception, the ultimate good. But because it was done from a logical place of testing, we want to know where we are. Not because we really wanted and aspired to connect to the infinite love of the Creator towards us. That became doubt. Like, I don't really know how it's working. When that moment comes and it becomes called doubt, this is Amalek. And therefore, immediately A nation called Amalek attacks the Israelites. And from that moment on, we see that every generation, there are those Amalekites, those people who want to kill the nation of Israel just because they exist. They don't need for any excuses. Oh, they'll invent all kinds of excuses. Once because they're communists, once because they're capitalists, once because they're rich, once because they're poor, once because they control the world, once because they're nothing. Nothing changed since 33 centuries ago. And therefore, we have the mitzvah over here to erase Amalek, the memory of Amalek from under the sky, the heavens. Exodus 17:14. ויאמר כי יד על כסייה מלחמה להשם בעמלק, מדור דור. Exodus 17:16. And the Zohar of Parashat Vayichi tells us, look around what's happening. The whole world is fighting. Does Israel have the right to exist or not? Why nobody is arguing about the Germans, about the Arabs, about the Indians? What about the British? Nobody argues if they have the right to exist. This is the logic of Amalek. As long as the people of Israel is walking on earth, they represent what was given on Mount Sinai. They represent the Exodus. They represent humanity's journey towards connecting to Atik. And whoever has hatred, whoever has so much darkness instead of a soul, cannot not hate the idea there's a nation of Israel. And especially now that the Israelites are not, the nation of Israel is not a persecuted minority anymore. Now they got down from their persecution and they're fighting for their lives and they're winning. This is unbearable. And this is the name of the war we are seeing all over. In the social media, in the United Nations, in every big organization around the world, sport, it's like it's an ongoing war over the whole planet. And the world is basically, has to choose sides. Why? A small, tiny little nation. 0.02% of humanity. Why is it such a big deal? So many things are happening all over the world, so powerful. Nobody demonstrates about them. Millions are dying of hunger in Sudan. Nobody cares. Millions are being, like thousands of people are being murdered in Sudan for years. Nobody cares. Same thing in Somalia. Nobody cares. What about the massacre in Iran? Like unimaginable massacre of so many people just a few days ago. Nobody cares. Nobody demonstrates. What's going on? Because the idea is the fight not about Israel. It's about who is Amalek, the darkness, which means believing in darkness, believing in evil, carrying the name of evil, and pretending to be justice. Or you want to be with Hashem, with the idea that every human being was born with the right for happiness, and nobody has the right to suppress it. And every human being, therefore, has the right to protect himself when somebody comes to kill him, without asking questions. We talked a lot about it, but it's happening right now in front of our eyes, and it's being intensified by the hour. And we just need to trust and find a way to connect to Atika. Thank you so much. And be part of the fight, because your meditation, your prayers daily are part of the army that is fighting to bring that idea of Mashiach, that idea of love to all humanity, not through hate, through love. And we need everybody for that.